Thank you everyone for coming back from the lunch. So I can sense that everyone is full. So let's have some more fun this afternoon. And I hope you will be inspired and you will have some good things to bring back. So thank you for inviting Vodafone IoT to be here to present to what is happening in Europe, what is happening in USA in the IoT industry in some vertical, like for example, healthcare. And I feel relieved because it's now in Hong Kong. So I think I don't need to introduce who is Vodafone because I'm based in Shanghai. So every time I need to explain who is Vodafone instead of the sponsor of Manchester United or the sponsor for Formula One. So I think everyone here knows who Vodafone is. But now we are no longer smart tone. So actually now in Hong Kong we have better relationship with Hutchison. And also in Australia we have a joint venture with Hutchison with the branding name of Vodafone. And also in India and New Zealand. So today I'd like to present what Vodafone is doing in the so-called eHealthcare industry. So frankly speaking, when I put the title of the booming eHealthcare, which implies that it is far from maturity yet. So I have contacted lots of healthcare companies in Hong Kong, in Taiwan, in mainland, but most of them are still struggling to gain money. So it's still, I think it's still like 4 or 5 years ahead to be a maturity in this industry. Okay, so this is the this very chaotic slide is our Vodafone's understanding about the whole healthcare industry, and because Vodafone we are a mobile operator, so we are actually just a very small player. In this circle, the IT and the telecommunication vendor. But for the whole ecosystem, there are lots of stakeholders and players. So you can imagine if you are a startup based in Hong Kong or based in Taiwan or based in Singapore, and you have a very good glucose meter device or a blood pressure device, you want to sell it into USA or sell it into Europe. So it will take you at least 1 year to do all those R&D developments. Then another 12 months to pass the certification. Maybe in some countries, the certification will take you more than 2 years or never. For example, Japan. You will never imagine how many times you will take for a Japan certification. Then, when you go to market, then it's the next generation of technology. So in most cases, our selling cycle for the Vodafone solution in Europe and USA, it will take more than 3 years. So my Taiwanese customer, they are still chasing me for the 3G and the 4G SIM cards and the connectivities in Europe and in Australia. And I know them for over 5 years. They are still chasing me for the retirement schedule in Australia for the 2G network. So it's a nightmare. So I have a tip for you that if you want to do something about healthcare, the good news is as long as you are doing it well, then the barrier is very high. There will never be copycat from mainland China to challenge you. But the bad news is the success chance is very small, especially in Europe and the USA market. And I never think about Japan market. Yeah, so basically this slide is about the enormous challenges we are facing. All the stakeholders in this ecosystem, we are facing the challenges in the healthcare. And we think healthcare is even more challenging than the automotive industry. It's more sensitive than automotive because if you are doing tier 1 in automotive industry, if you are doing telematics service provider business, if a particular device doesn't work at a period of time, if it cannot pass the e-call signal to the SOS center, it won't cause you immediate problem. It won't cause you vendor immediate problem. But if a particular healthcare device in a clinic or in some hospital have some trouble, then it will be something very political in some country. So generally speaking, the healthcare industry is more challenging than the so-called most complex vertical, automotive. Then we summarize 4 points for the challenges. The first one is an aging population. So I remember in the morning sessions, some presentations mentioning about the universal aging population in most countries, especially in developed countries. So we will face the reality that more and more young people, they don't want to bear children, include myself. So you will find that the IoT will be something mandatory to apply for the healthcare because we will face an aging population. And the second challenge is there will be more and more chronic disease care. One very good example is the diabetes. And also that triggers the big industry of glucose meter. And I know lots of manufacturers in South China, in Taiwan, in Hong Kong, they are producing glucose meter things. But that is just the simplest. The glucose meter is the simplest category in the whole chronic disease care vertical. Then the third one is the patient empowerment. So through the technology of IoT, each individual patient, he or she can use some media, for example, some web browser to click a username or password or through some authentication to log into a GUI. Then he or she can, in real time, to check his or her treatment status. Then he can have some very efficient interaction with the doctor or with the clinician. So this is the enlightenment for patients to use the IoT technology. So it can empower patients to have the interactions, not only one single way. So this is doctor's suggestion, so I can only accept it. So this is also one of the very benefits, but also challenges for the healthcare IoT. And then the last one is, we call it reform. But the picture is a little bit misleading because the reform is majorly about local regulation, about the things for the government to make decision what kind of reform the local government will make. Because in most cases, for example, in China mainland, there are lots of great ideas about the healthcare, the eHealthcare. But finally, there is always one question no one can answer. Who pays it? Who is the payer? And I can tell in most cases, the government will be the payer. And ultimately, it will be the taxpayer who pay the money for the healthcare IoT. So that will also trigger the reforms in local governments. Otherwise, there will be always no payer. Then most projects will be just suspended in the middle way. Then here comes our insights about the patient's experience, because we understand that the patient experience is always evolving because of the evolvement of technology, the evolvement of IoT. So the patients, they will always have different expectation of what treatment they will get. Then there will be many digital touch points, which also exist today. for patients to interact with the healthcare system. The patients now, they have unlimited access to information through maybe some wearables or something. And sometimes they just don't understand what data they are reading. But the most terrible thing is they will misunderstand. There is a potential that they are likely to misunderstand the data they read from the wearable machines or from some other medias. Then you will see that if you are a patient 5 years later, you will face the situation that there are so many things surrounding you. You can get the information for your chronic disease. So you are just surrounded by, for example, the mobile apps, the insurance papers you signed with the insurance company, and the testing and the laboratory from some pharmaceutical companies, point of cares, and some scheduling and the admin from some local clinics. And also, the most terrible one is the online and websites that some so-called service provider offered you. So all these things will be always put the patient experience in almost a constant flux. You will be puzzled. Then, here comes an opportunity for all of us, because now it's a chaotic situation in eHealthcare. But the good thing is that we are now, because we are developing the technology in electronics more and more advanced, and the cost of chips, the cost of sensors, the cost of communications are lower and lower. So we get more and more data from all these devices and the software. So it's a chance for us now to do more innovation from a well-organized data to deliver more powerful benefits. So because there are so many benefits in this, so I don't want to mention them one by one. Then what will it look like for the future for patient data? Then I'd like to introduce, there are actually 3 major points. So I would like to introduce the 3 one. First one, the consumerization, then wearable, and regulation. And I will go very deep into the 3 items, one by one. So first of all, the regulation. Sometimes the regulation one is the most disputable topics when we discuss about any healthcare topics. And the most disputable one is about the data privacy. It's about the personal data. So, and it varies from each other in all different countries. Like if you want to do something in Germany, then maybe it will never happen. Like if you export some glucose meter into Germany, then the local government will tell you that, oh, sorry, you can never transfer the patient's data from Germany outside to any other countries. You will always have your data center set up within Germany, and maybe just within that hospital or within that clinics. Then in that sense, only local manufacturers or only local startup can do business in Germany. And also in some other countries, the situation is the same. So sometimes the data privacy in different countries limits the possibility of healthcare device import and export. So our experience is in most matured healthcare business country, we can only have local business. So there is no trading in and out. And the key reason is, one of the key reasons is the data privacy. And the second one is the patient safety. But patient safety is also something very disputable, but this thing always happens also in USA and Europe, because USA have a very stringent regulation from the FDA. So it's very sensitive if your device touches the blood or the heart disease or anything about which will cause death or chronic disease. Then the patient safety will be carefully studied by the local regulator or the government. Then the second opportunity comes from we call the consumerization. The consumerization is much more interesting than the first topic and easier, because it is a trend that, so I can give an example of what we do in China mainland. I think all of you know WeChat. And there is a very popular app in WeChat to record your pacing and record the miles you run every day. And there is a kind of a ranking list to compare your score with your friends in WeChat. So this is something we call it the gamification. So some of our customers, they are also doing this sort of gamification in the healthcare service. They just empower the patients to share and to compare some statistics of their chronic disease with the other patients in the same hospital. And then the doctor or the clinician, they can, so if they prescribe a particular kind of therapy, then they can get all the relevant data from these patients, and they can have some comparison to check if this therapy is effective or not, or it is effective for a particular group of patients, but not effective for the rest. So this is some kind of, we call it the gamification, which encourage the patients to share the real-time data from their body status. Then the last one is, of course, it's the wearable. But frankly speaking, until today, I do not see any qualified, good healthcare specialized wearables coming out from South China or even the Taiwan market. And even in the USA market and in the Europe market, what I always see is the services and the products from some big pharmaceutical companies like Roche, like Sanofi. You will see that maybe they do the OEM in Dongguan or in Guangzhou or in Taiwan, but there are very few products from Asia which exported into those Western countries and do the IoT and healthcare. So most of the cases are still led by those super big pharmaceutical companies. But I know that maybe you will challenge me because there are thousands of wearables produced in South China. And lots of them, I think I witnessed hundreds of blood pressure meters and maybe near 100 or 200 glucose meter manufacturers in Shenzhen and Dongguan. But very few of them can enter the Europe or USA market. Then here is an ecosystem involving all those big names in the Europe healthcare ecosystems. So you can see that those big names of the pharmaceutical companies like Merck, Roche, GE, Honeywell, and there are also some big telecom names like AT&T, Verizon, and Orange. They do quite well in the France market. And also in North Africa. They had some very good best practice in North Africa for the healthcare. So you will see that this is a world of all big animals. I seldom see any small startups jumping out from the vertical. Then the last two slides will review about what Vodafone do in healthcare, because I guess most of you are puzzled. Then what Vodafone do? Vodafone is not a hospital. So basically, we offer a special SIM card. We call it global SIM. And these SIM cards can roam in 700 cellular mobile networks globally, including Hong Kong, including China mainland, including maybe Belarus. So the manufacturer, they can embed our SIM cards into their device, and they can sell it anywhere. So this is what Vodafone do in the healthcare. So this is one case study, Boston Scientific. I think this is one of the most famous healthcare manufacturer. And our US team helped them to export their devices into the Europe market. But you know that Boston Scientific, they also have a big team in Europe. So basically, this company they are dealing with our Europe headquarter teams. So they have no deals in USA. And this is another customer. This is a small one, but they don't do hardware business. They are actually a service provider, and they use a website to do the elderly healthcare assistance. So currently, Vodafone, we have around 30 million connected devices and terminals running all around the world. So we are still the biggest M2M mobile operator in the world. But most likely, by the end of this year, China Mobile will exceed us, because in the industrial forecast, China Mobile, their connected number will be exceeded like 40 million connected products. But all the numbers I mentioned are all cellular network connections, excluding the Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or Zigbee or the others. So this is not. This is still consistent with the forecast from Gartner or the IDC. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wang. So are there any questions for Mr. Wang today? All right.
For healthcare, it's okay.
So frankly speaking, I don't know the detailed why about the Japanese certification. But I can just tell my story, because I work for Vodafone IoT for 5 years. And I know almost all the mainland China-based and the Taiwan, and the Hsinchu-based manufacturers in the healthcare. And no one take the energy or take the efforts to pass a Japanese certification. Maybe because of the cost, or maybe because of the time takes too long. And maybe the Japan regulator, they have some kind of the protection to protect their domestic vendor. But that's just my guess. So I cannot tell you the details. Yeah.
Thank you. Any more questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Wang.